You make a choice right now. You decide to keep reading this or you decide to stop. It feels simple. It feels like one decision, one outcome, one future unfolding from this moment. But what if I told you that both versions of you exist? What if the you who keeps reading and the you who stops are both equally real, both continuing forward in separate universes, both convinced they're the only one? And what if the reason this happens, the actual physics that forces reality to split every time you make a choice, reveals something so disturbing about your existence that once you understand it, you can never think about yourself the same way again? Stay with me, because this isn't science fiction. This is quantum mechanics. This is the many worlds interpretation. And it's not some fringe theory cooked up by philosophers with too much time on their hands. It's a direct, logical consequence of the equations we use to describe reality. And what it tells us about you, about the thing you call your identity, your singular experience of being alive, is absolutely devastating. Let's start with what you believe. You believe you are one person living one life in one universe. You believe when you make a choice, that choice determines your future. The road not taken disappears. The other possibilities cease to exist. They become what might have been, hypothetical, counterfactual, not real. You are moving forward through time along a single timeline, making choices that collapse infinite possibilities down to one actual outcome. That's what it feels like. That's what everyone assumes, right? But here's the question that should tear that picture apart. What happens to the wave function when you make a measurement? In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition. An electron doesn't have a definite position until you measure it. It exists as a probability wave spread across all possible positions simultaneously. And when you measure it, when you interact with it, the wave function collapses. All those possibilities vanish except one. You see the electron in one specific place, and that becomes reality. This is what every physicist learns. This is the Copenhagen interpretation. Measurement collapses the wave function. The possibilities disappear. But here's what nobody tells you. There's no mechanism for that collapse. The equations of quantum mechanics don't include it. The Schrödinger equation, the fundamental equation that describes how quantum systems evolve, never ever collapses the wave function. It just keeps spreading it out, creating more and more superposition, more and more possibilities. The collapse is something we add by hand. We say, and then a measurement happens and magic occurs and all the possibilities except one just vanish. But physics doesn't work by magic. Physics works by equations. And the equations say the possibilities don't vanish. So what actually happens? Where do all those other outcomes go? The many worlds answer is simple and completely horrifying. They don't go anywhere. They're all real. Every possible outcome of every quantum measurement actually happens. The wave function never collapses. Reality just splits. Every time a quantum event occurs, every time a particle could go left or right, every time an atom could decay or not decay, every time anything happens that has more than one possible outcome, the universe branches. Both outcomes occur. Both futures become real, and you go with them. Let me tell you something. This isn't a hypothesis. This is what the math actually says if you just follow it without adding extra assumptions. Hugh Everett figured this out in 1957, and it terrified people so much that the physics establishment tried to ignore it for decades. Because if it's true, if the wave function never collapses and all possible outcomes are equally real, then you are not one person. You are a constantly branching tree of people. Every version of you that could possibly exist does exist somewhere in the multiverse. Do you see what happens? Every choice you make, every moment where your brain could fire one way or another, where a neuron could release a neurotransmitter or not, where a quantum event in your neurons could go either way, splits you, creates two versions of you, one who experiences outcome A and one who experiences outcome B, and both versions are you, both are conscious, both believe they're the original, both feel like a continuous unified self, but they're not the same person anymore. They're different branches, different instances of you diverging into separate futures. If you want to understand how the universe actually works, not just how it looks, but how it works, hit that subscribe button. Let's find things out together. Now I want to take this deeper, because the really disturbing part isn't just that you're splitting, it's how often you're splitting, and what that means about identity. Quantum events are happening in your brain constantly. Your neurons are molecular machines. Every thought you have, every decision you make, every sensation you experience depends on ions flowing through channels in cell membranes, neurotransmitters binding to receptors, electrical signals propagating down axons. And at the molecular level, all of this is fundamentally quantum. Electrons tunneling through barriers, atoms vibrating in superposition, chemical bonds forming and breaking through quantum processes. Your brain is not a classical computer, it's a quantum system. And quantum systems don't have single definite states. They exist in superposition until something measures them. But here's the critical insight. In many worlds, nothing ever measures them. The superposition just keeps growing. Your brain state is not one definite configuration. It's a quantum superposition of trillions of slightly different configurations. And every few nanoseconds, that superposition branches into slightly different versions of you. Let's be honest about what this means. You are not experiencing one continuous stream of consciousness. You are experiencing one branch of an endlessly splitting tree of consciousness. Every few nanoseconds you divide. The you reading this sentence right now is not the same you who started reading it. That earlier you has already split into thousands or millions of slightly different versions, each experiencing a slightly different present moment. And you, this particular instance, this specific branch, are just one of them. You feel continuous because you have memories of the previous moments, but those memories are shared across all the branches. Every version of you has them. Every version of you thinks they're the main character. Think about it this way. Imagine you're about to flip a coin. In the Copenhagen interpretation, the coin lands heads or tails, and one outcome becomes real. But in many worlds, the universe splits. One version of you sees heads, another version sees tails. Both versions are real. Both versions continue forward. And here's the devastating part. Both versions remember being you before the split. Both versions feel like they're the real continuation of your identity. But they can't both be you. They're different people now, living in different universes, with different futures ahead of them. So which one is actually you? The answer is neither, or both. The you that existed before the split doesn't exist anymore. That unified identity has been destroyed. It's been replaced by two separate identities, each claiming to be the original, neither one more valid than the other. You die every time reality splits, and you're replaced by multiple versions of yourself who don't know their copies. Here's the part that keeps me up at night. If many worlds is correct, if every quantum possibility actually occurs, then most versions of you are living lives you can't even imagine. Every moment where something could have gone differently did go differently in some branch. Every choice you almost made but didn't, you made it in another world. Every accident you narrowly avoided, you didn't avoid it somewhere else. Every person you almost met, every word you almost said, every version of your life that seems like it could have happened, it did happen. It is happening right now in branches you'll never see. There are versions of you who made different choices at every major decision point in your life. Versions who took the other job, married the other person, moved to the other city. Versions who died in childhood accidents. Versions who became wildly successful. Versions who are in prison. Versions who never existed because your parents made love at a slightly different moment and a different sperm fertilized the egg. The tree of possible yous is so vast, so incomprehensibly branched, that the specific version of you reading this right now is statistically zero. You are one outcome out of infinity. You are a single blade of grass in a field that stretches to the horizon in every direction. And you cannot access any of those other versions. You cannot know what they're experiencing. You are locked into this one branch, this one sequence of quantum outcomes, watching it unfold and believing it's the only reality. But it's not. It's just the only reality you're experiencing. Every other version of you is equally convinced that their branch is the real one. And none of you are wrong. You're all equally real. all equally trapped in your separate streams of experience. Do you see the paradox? Your identity, the thing you think of as you, is not a singular entity. It's a label you apply to one particular branch of an endlessly splitting tree. And that branch has no special status. It's not the main timeline. It's not the real you. It's just one arbitrary path through an infinite garden of forking paths. The person you were 5 minutes ago has already split into countless versions, and you, reading this now, are just one of them. One random outcome, one possible version of what that person could have become. Your entire life is an accident of quantum mechanics. You are the result of trillions of tiny, random quantum events that could have gone differently and did go differently in other branches. The specific configuration of atoms that makes up your brain right now, the exact pattern of neural activation that's generating your thoughts, it's not necessary. It's not special. It's just one possibility that happened to occur in this branch. In other branches, slightly different versions of you are thinking slightly different thoughts, and they all feel just as real, just as continuous, just as you do. So who are you really? You're not a thing. You're not a continuous entity persisting through time. You're a label attached to one branch of an ever-splitting wave function. You're a particular sequence of quantum measurements that happens to have memory and self-awareness. You're a temporary local minimum in the probability distribution of all possible yous. And here's the really disturbing implication. If all possible versions of you exist, then all possible futures are already determined in the sense that they all happen. You can't change the multiverse. You can only determine which branch you experience. When you make a choice, you're not choosing what happens. You're choosing which version of what happens you'll be conscious of. The version where you made the other choice is just as real, just as actual, continuing in parallel. You haven't prevented that future. You've just moved your consciousness to a different branch. Free will becomes meaningless. Not because your choices don't matter. They do. They determine which branch you experience. But because all possible choices are made by some version of you. The you who chooses A and the you who chooses B both exist. Both are equally real. You cannot choose not to do something because the version of you that does it is already real, already experiencing that outcome in another branch. You are trapped in a multiverse where every mistake you could possibly make, you do make. Every failure, every wrong choice, every moment of weakness, it happens. Some version of you is living it right now, and you can never save them. You can never go back and fix it. Those branches are sealed off from you forever. You can only watch your own branch unfold, knowing that in countless other branches, countless other versions of you are suffering, failing, dying, and there's nothing you can do about it. But here's what I find beautiful about this. Here's what redeems it. If every possible version of you exists, then so does the best possible version. Somewhere in the multiverse, there's a version of you who made all the right choices, who became everything you wish you could be, who lived the life you dream about. And that version is just as real as you are. They're out there, right now, being brilliant and happy and fulfilled. You can't meet them, you can't become them, but they exist. And maybe that's enough. Maybe knowing that all possible yous are equally real means you can stop obsessing over the road not taken, because that road was taken. Some version of you is walking it right now. You don't have to carry the weight of all those lost possibilities because they're not lost. They're just elsewhere, in another branch, living themselves out. You are one branch of an infinite tree, and every branch is blooming. If this twisted your brain a little bit, good. That means it's working. I'll see you in the next one.